Country music sells itself as heartfelt, wholesome, and rooted in tradition. But behind the rhinestones, heartbreak ballads, and polished smiles, some of its brightest stars lived love lives far wilder than their lyrics ever revealed. They didn't just sing about messy romance, they lived it. So who were the divas whose personal stories could outshine any chart-topping single? Buckle up, because this list might just change the way you see your favorite voices forever. Tammy Wynette. Tammy Wynette wasn't just the first lady of country music. She was also the first lady of dramatic love stories that often spilled into headlines. Married 5 times, Tammy lived a life as unpredictable as her chart-topping ballads. Her first marriage to Eupley Bird started young and ended quickly. By the late 1960s, she was on to Don Chappell, but their marriage unraveled when Tammy began a whirlwind romance with George Jones. When she tied the knot with Jones in 1969, fans thought they were witnessing country royalty at its finest. Together, they sang duets that mirrored their passionate relationship, but their volatile bond was plagued by arguments and his well-documented struggles. Their split was messy, yet unforgettable. Tammy's impulsive marriage to Michael Tomlin lasted just 44 days, proving her love life was as unpredictable as her music career. Finally, she found long-term stability with songwriter George Rishi, but whispers of other flings with Nashville insiders never went away. Tammy's personal journey was a mirror of her songs full of heartbreak, longing, and resilience. She lived at full speed, making choices that shocked even those closest to her. Much like her music, Tammy's romances were timeless stories of highs and lows that kept fans watching as much as listening. Lorie Morgan. Few women in Nashville carried as much romantic firepower as Lorie Morgan. With 6 marriages and a string of high-profile partners, she became as well known for her love, life as her music. At just 20, she wed bassist Ron Gaddis, but the young love fizzled quickly. The true drama arrived with Keith Whitley, a romance that captured the nation's heart before his tragic passing left her widowed at just 30. Lorie's grief became part of her legend, but her story didn't stop there. She later married Clint Black's former bus driver, proving she wasn't chasing glamour but rather companionship. She also drew headlines for her relationship with U.S. Senator Fred Thompson, appearing at political events on his arm. Nashville buzzed as Lorie blurred the line between music celebrity and political spotlight. Her 5th marriage to singer Sammy Kershaw was her most dramatic, filled with fiery arguments and constant reconciliations. Photographers loved it, but the couple couldn't make it last. Her final marriage to businessman Randy Wright brought her the peace she had been chasing for decades, lasting until his passing years later. Morgan's history of chasing love, losing it, and then diving right back in made her unforgettable. She wasn't just a voice on the radio, she was living proof that heartbreak and hope could exist side by side. Jana Kramer. Jana Kramer's career may have started in television, but her personal life quickly became the bigger drama. At just 20, she married Michael Gambino, a union that ended quickly and painfully. Her second marriage to actor Jonathan Chaich lasted only a month, barely giving fans time to register she was married before she was single again. By 2012, Jana was engaged to country singer Brantley Gilbert, a match that had fans buzzing, but the engagement collapsed within a year. Then came her marriage to NFL player Mike Cosson in 2015, and that relationship became tabloid gold. From counseling to separations to public heartbreak, every chapter of their union unfolded under the spotlight. The constant turbulence eventually ended in divorce, but not before fans saw her resilience tested again and again. Jana's attempts at finding lasting love didn't stop there. She briefly dated quarterback Jay Cutler and was linked to other athletes and fitness personalities, keeping her name in entertainment news. Finally, in 2024, she married Scottish soccer player Alan Russell, marking what she called a new chapter of stability. Her journey has been a roller coaster of whirlwind romances and sudden endings, and each one only seemed to fuel her determination to keep going. Jana wasn't afraid to live, love, and fall apart in front of the world. That openness made her one of the most talked-about figures in modern country. Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton may be known for her sparkling personality, endless talent, and larger-than-life wigs, but for decades her private life kept gossip mills spinning. Married to Carl Dean since 1966, Dolly has built one of the most famously private unions in show business. Carl stayed almost completely out of the spotlight, leaving fans to wonder if Dolly's romances extended beyond her marriage. The strongest whispers revolved around her close partnerships with male collaborators. Porter Wagoner, her longtime duet partner, sparked endless rumors thanks to their undeniable chemistry on stage. Kenny Rogers, with whom she shared the timeless hit Islands in the Stream, fueled more speculation as their playful banter kept fans guessing. Dolly herself admitted to an affair of the heart, describing it as one of her darkest periods, but she never revealed the name of the man. Despite the constant rumors, Dolly always maintained her loyalty to Carl, calling him the love of her life. Still, the mystery surrounding her hinted romances became part of her legend. She sang about heartbreak and resilience because she knew them intimately, even if she never confirmed the stories the world wanted to hear. For fans, Dolly's carefully guarded privacy only added to her allure. She didn't need to confirm or deny anything. The broughton, sparkle, the laughter, and the songs were enough to keep her one of the most captivating women in music history. LeAnn Rimes. LeAnn Rimes' rise to fame was meteoric, but her personal life quickly became just as headline-worthy as her voice. Married young to backup dancer Dean Sharamet, LeAnn seemed to have it all. That image shattered in 2009 when she began a romance with actor Eddie Cibrian. The twist? Both were still married to other people at the time. When the affair came to light, the fallout was immediate and intense. LeAnn and Eddie both divorced, and she was suddenly painted as the central figure in one of the biggest entertainment stories of the year. Tabloids went into overdrive, and her reputation took a hit as she became the focus of endless debate. Despite the storm, LeAnn and Eddie pressed on, proving their commitment wasn't just a fleeting fling. They married in 2011 inches, a quiet ceremony, standing together even as criticism swirled. Over time, they weathered the negativity, raising his children from a previous marriage and presenting themselves as a united front. LeAnn's story was proof that sometimes the songs about heartbreak and betrayal weren't just performances. They were reflections of her own reality. Though her career endured ups and downs, her personal choices kept her firmly in the public eye. Love, loyalty, and controversy blended to make LeAnn Rimes one of the most talked-about divas in country history. Loretta Lynn. Loretta Lynn was the coal miner's daughter, a voice of honesty who turned her own heartbreak into timeless songs. Married at just 15 to Oliver Doolittle Lynn, she spent nearly 5 decades with a man whose behavior often mirrored the cheaters and heartbreakers in her music. Loretta herself admitted that Doolittle had strayed many times, yet she stayed, raising 6 children and building her career. Her marriage was both the anchor and the storm of her life. Doolittle's hot temper and restless nature created years of tension. At the same time, he also pushed Loretta to pursue her career when she doubted herself. Their bond was complicated, a mix of love, loyalty, and pain that fans could hear in songs like You Ain't Woman Enough. While Loretta never openly admitted to romantic ties outside her marriage, Nashville insiders whispered about close friendships with fellow artists that may have crossed into deeper territory during her husband's most difficult years. Her heavy touring schedule put her in constant contact with other musicians, and some believe she sought companionship when things at home were at their worst. Loretta never confirmed the rumors, instead choosing to keep her private life close to the chest. But what was undeniable was the raw power in her music that came straight from lived experience. Whether through the storm of her marriage or quiet moments of connection beyond it, Loretta Lynn transformed personal heartbreak into anthems that women across America claimed as their own. Shania Twain. Shania Twain's story could have been a fairy tale, but real life turned it into one of country's most dramatic sagas. She married producer Robert Mutt Lange in 1993, and together they created albums that reshaped country music forever. Lange produced Come On Over, which became the best-selling country record of all time. Professionally, they were unstoppable. Personally, the cracks were forming. In 2008, the world learned that Lange had betrayed her trust by growing close to her best friend and personal assistant, Marie-Anne Thiebaud. For Shania, the double blow was devastating. The marriage ended in divorce, and Shania's world seemed to collapse with it. She described falling into a spiral of sadness, losing her voice and struggling to imagine how she could continue performing. But in one of the most unexpected turns, Shania found comfort in the man who had also been betrayed, Marie, Anne's ex-husband, Frédéric Thiebaud. What started as shared grief turned into a new love story. The two married in 2011, and Shania credited Frédéric with helping her rebuild her life and career. Shania's romantic history may have started with betrayal, but it transformed into resilience and renewal. Her story reminded fans that even the most heartbreaking chapters can lead to surprising happy endings. She didn't just sing about strength after loss. She lived it. Reba McEntire. Reba McEntire is one of country music's most enduring icons, but even her love life has been a series of highs and heartbreaks. She married steer wrestler Charlie Battles in 1976, moving on to his ranch and becoming a stepmother to his children. While her career began to take off, Reba longed for independence, and after 11 years of marriage, she left, admitting she had outgrown the relationship. Her second marriage to Narvel Blackstock, her steel guitarist and manager, was the stuff of Nashville power couple dreams. Together, they built Starstruck Entertainment, expanded her career into television, and raised a blended family. For 26 years, they seemed unshakable. But in 2015, Reba stunned fans when she revealed their marriage had ended, a decision she said wasn't hers. The split was painful, but Reba's resilience showed again. In 2017, she began dating Anthony Skeeter Lasuzo, a retired oil geologist and wildlife photographer. Their bond was unexpected but genuine, and they shared adventures and red carpet appearances before eventually parting ways in 2019. Through it all, Reba proved she was unafraid to start over. She may have sung about fancy and heartbreak, but her personal story showed she lived boldly, refusing to let the end of one chapter define her future. Reba's love life became proof that even legends face heartbreak and keep going. Patty Loveless. Patty Loveless built her career on raw emotion, her voice carrying the ache of heartbreak and longing. Offstage, her personal life also reflected that struggle. At 19, she married drummer Terry Lovelace and adopted the stage name Loveless. Their young marriage was strained by her pursuit of a career and constant touring. By 1986, the relationship had unraveled, and Patty faced both personal and professional crossroads. Reinvention became her hallmark. She returned to Nashville and reconnected with Emory Gordy Jr., a seasoned musician and producer who believed in her talent. Their friendship turned into romance, and in 1989, they quietly married. Unlike her first marriage, this union was stable and enduring, though they kept it largely private. Rumors swirled at times about her early years on the road, long nights, close bonds with fellow musicians, but Patty rarely addressed speculation. Instead, she let her songs speak for her. Fans connected with her heartbreak ballads because they felt lived in, shaped by real struggles and triumphs. Patty's story was not one of endless headlines, but of transformation. She showed that it was possible to move beyond broken love and build a lasting partnership. Her voice carried the weight of her experiences, making her one of the most authentic and relatable divas in country music. Terri Clark. Terri Clark, known for her fearless lyrics and powerful stage presence, lived a love life just as layered as her music. Her first marriage to fiddler Ted Stevenson began in 1991 during her climb to stardom. The couple welcomed a son, Noah, but as her career grew and she spent more time on the road, the pressures mounted. By 1996, the marriage ended, leaving Terri to navigate single motherhood. Years later, she found love again with her tour manager, Greg Katcher. Their relationship blossomed from long hours working side by side, and in 2005, they tied the knot in a wedding that was even featured on CMT. Fans thought Terri had finally found lasting happiness, but less than 2 years later, the marriage ended, and the couple divorced shortly before the birth of their daughter, Danielle. Since then, Terri has chosen to keep her personal life out of the spotlight, focusing instead on raising her children and continuing her career. While she hasn't shared many details of later romances, her story shows the tension between chasing a dream and maintaining relationships. Terri Clark's romantic journey wasn't filled with endless headlines, but the few chapters she lived carried deep emotion. Her story resonated with fans who understood the sacrifices of balancing love, family, and ambition. Chely Wright. Chely Wright grew up in a conservative world where being herself felt impossible. Behind the spotlight, she carried the heavy secret of her true identity while building a career in Nashville. In her early years, Chely pursued relationships that helped her appear traditional, including a brief romance with Brad Paisley that she later admitted was partly to protect her image. The truth, however, was that she was drawn to women, though she felt forced to hide it. Throughout her 20s and 30s, Chely lived in the shadows. She had deep, meaningful relationships with women, but kept them away from the public eye. The strain of hiding her reality nearly broke her, but she continued to perform, balancing two lives, one for herself and one for the world. In 2010, Chely took the brave step of coming out publicly, becoming the first major country star to do so. While risky, it was also liberating. That year, she shared her story in her memoir, and suddenly the relationships she had been forced to keep private were acknowledged as part of her history. In 2011, she married music executive Lauren Blitzer, finally living openly and happily. Together they built a family, welcoming twin boys 2 years later. Chely's romantic journey wasn't filled with the same kind of headline-making drama as others, but it was just as powerful. Her courage to love authentically, after years of secrecy, reshaped the conversation in country music. She showed that honesty could create not scandal, but strength. Tanya Tucker. Tanya Tucker has never been one to play by the rules, and her personal life proved it. Rising to fame as a teenager with her hit Delta Dawn, Tanya grew up in the spotlight and carried that rebellious streak into her relationships. She never married, but her love life was a carousel of high-profile romances that fascinated fans and fueled endless stories. Her most famous relationship was with Glenn Campbell. Passionate, volatile, and public, their love affair kept Nashville and Hollywood buzzing. They sang duets together, fought openly, and at one point became engaged, though the marriage never happened. Tanya was barely in her 20s, while Glenn was more than 2 decades older. Their bond was as fiery as it was short-lived. After Campbell, Tanya dated Hollywood heartthrob Don Johnson during his Miami Vice fame, adding another layer of star power to her story. She was also linked to fellow artists, including Merle Haggard and Andy Gibb, keeping her name in the mix of music's most talked-about romances. Her longest connection came with songwriter Jerry Lasseter. They had an on-and-off relationship, 2 children together, and even an engagement that Tanya famously called off the night before the wedding. She also shared a chapter of her life with rodeo cowboy Ben Reed, father of her eldest daughter. Tanya once admitted she didn't want to be tied down by marriage, and her choices reflected that independence. For her, romance was about living boldly, not quietly, and her fearless approach made her one of country's most unforgettable divas. Miranda Lambert. Miranda Lambert's love life has been as fiery as her lyrics. She first dated singer Jeff Allen McManus before finding herself drawn to Blake Shelton. Their chemistry was undeniable, even while Shelton was still married. After both ended their previous relationships, Miranda and Blake became country's power couple in 2011. Fans adored them, but behind the scenes, the tension mounted. Their 2015 divorce stunned the industry and set off years of speculation. Miranda didn't stay single long. Later that same year, she began dating R&B singer Anderson East, a relationship that brought her comfort and lasted 2 years. Then, in 2018, she entered into a whirlwind romance with Evan Felker of the Turnpike Troubadours. The timing was messy, as Felker was still married, and the relationship ended almost as quickly as it began. Miranda's next chapter shocked fans. In 2019, she announced she had secretly married Brendan McLaughlin, a New York police officer she met just months earlier. Their romance began after a chance encounter during a Good Morning America performance, and their quick marriage became the talk of Nashville. Miranda's love life mirrored her songs, passionate, dramatic, and unflinchingly real. Whether weathering heartbreak or diving headfirst into new love, she lived with intensity. Fans may debate her choices, but one thing is clear: Miranda never held back. Trisha Yearwood. Trisha Yearwood's journey through love was less fiery than some, but it was no less complicated. Her first marriage to Christopher Latham in 1987 was short-lived, ending as her career began to take shape. Her second marriage to Robert Reynolds, bassist for the Mavericks, seemed promising, but by 1999, they too had parted ways. Between those chapters, Trisha kept her private life close, rarely addressing rumors about romances with fellow musicians. But her real story was the decades-long friendship with Garth Brooks that eventually became the love of her life. They had known each other since the late 1980 seconds, often touring together and supporting one another through their careers.